Jambo, we chose mobile and to build out our smartphone at $99, but with comparable specs to phones that are much higher because our target audience, that is something that is interesting to them, this price point. And second is we call it the phone that pays, where you can spend time inside the phone. There's 20 apps that are pre-installed. It's an Android phone, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're keeping the price low. But the things that we have added upon is pre-installed applications that are all our deep Web3 partners that provide incentives for users to come in, do on-chain transactions, try their apps, and they get rewarded with their tokens. They're all liquid that we then provide on and off ramps around the world.
Welcome back to another episode of Bitfinex Talks. I'm your host, Ricardo Martinez, and today I am very, very happy to have James, the co-founder and CEO of Jambo, on the show. James, thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Excited for this.
Yeah, me too. James, for those that aren't familiar with Jambo, how would you describe the project?
Yeah, Jambo, we're building the largest on-chain mobile network. It really, begins from where I grew up, which is in Africa, 16 years, families there 3 generations. When you grow up in emerging markets, you realize problems like cross-border payments, remittances, banking the unbanked, which the ultimate equalizer is mobile, where it has skipped the PC age. So essentially for us, it took a few years to build out supply chain, team management, VC funding. But essentially, as of last year, we did around 800 to 900,000 phones across over 100 countries. So Jambo we're trying to build the largest on-chain mobile network.
Why is it that Africa has trouble with people in one African country paying other people in a different African country? I've heard from several other people that they make it very, very difficult to make cross-border payments, and then if you are allowed to make them, they come with ridiculously high fees and costs. Why is that?
No, great question. I think it's just the legacy operating systems where you look at today, say in Kenya, there's M-Pesa, there's amazing digital networks, right? But you can't send money beyond Kenya. You can only do it within. And like you said, usually it's a few bips if you're in a first world country to send money cross payment, even in LATAM, right? In Brazil, you have Pix, etc. In Africa, it's just no unified sort of system. So obviously the population of Africa is 1.4 billion people, 54 countries. It's it is the youngest continent. And people are starting to realize, wow, there's hyperinflation. My currency isn't working. I can't send money to my boy in Ghana if I'm in, say, Senegal. If I'm doing business and I need to import wood from this country, I cannot even pay my supplier. So then you start looking at other options. And this is where Web3 sort of payment rails comes in.
And then how are you guys at Jambo working to overcome these issues?
For sure. So I think this begins and ends with bringing new users onboarded to Web3. So everyone talks about, the next billion users onboard to Web3, but how do you actually do that, right? If your office is sitting in San Francisco or New York, using just as an example, it's really hard to reach that target audience. Say for us right now, largest markets being Brazil, Argentina, Nigeria, Kenya. You really have to do groundwork over there and onboard users. It's a different language, right? In most of LATAM, Spanish, Brazil's Portuguese. I grew up in Congo, French speaking, but our largest markets are still English and other Swahili. So I think a lot of that sort of BD groundwork needs to be done. But at the end of the day, Jambo, we chose mobile and to build out our smartphone at $99, but with comparable specs to phones that are much higher because our target audience, that is something that is interesting to them, this price point. And second is we call it the phone that pays, where you can spend time inside the phone. There's 20 apps that are pre-installed. It's an Android phone, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're keeping the price low. But the things that we have added upon is pre-installed applications that are all our deep Web3 partners that provide incentives for users to come in, do on-chain transactions, try their apps, and they get rewarded with their tokens. They're all liquid that we then provide on and off ramps around the world. And the secondly, everyone talks about the App Store and disrupting the App Store, taking 30% fees. Anyone that's built an iOS or Android app knows how hard it is to get on that. Well, you really don't need an App Store if you have your own progressive web app, your PWA, into a dApp store. So that is something that we're providing as well, where we're pre-installing a lot of Web3 crypto apps that don't have Android or iOS-based apps, but really it can solve everyday life problems, and we pre-install them in our dApp store.
That's super interesting. You guys are kind of developing your own like F-Droid kind of dApp store, I guess, then, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, right, if you want to just do a pure dApp store with no Android-based operating system, the numbers you're going to do on phone sales might not be more than like 20, 30,000 because you can't really work with distributors. When we are in over 100 countries and you go to a distributor and say, hey, we're our own operating system, no Android, iOS, they don't even talk to you. So we had to use an Android-based system to sort of like Trojan horse for regular users that are used to Android to come in as well. But then we provide our own sort of user experience, etc.
And what kind of dApps or apps, I guess, are we talking about that your partners
Sure.
are listing on the phone?
Yeah. On one end of the spectrum, you have games where games like Matrix Fire, right? It's a Web3 FPS game like Arena Free Fire of PUBG, which is widely played in emerging markets. You have Web3 skins, Web3 components. You earn tokens for getting certain levels. Other end of the spectrum, we have big L1 partners, so layer one partners like Solana with their wallets and other applications, our infrastructure pre-installed. So you actually have somewhere to store your tokens, earn those tokens to store, and have that infra to actually do these things.
Okay. And with Solana, like I know they had a phone and then like people were getting airdrops from like a bunch of different projects that had their applications on the Solana phone. Do you guys have like a similar kind of dynamic going on?
No, great question. So, we're big fans of Solana Saga, the Seeker team. Like I said, I think we have different ethos where for them, it's really, really straight focused on the Web3 crowd where they're not Android, they're their own dApp store. And then they have the airdrops and things, and they only ship to US and Canada, right? And I think they did around like 20 to 50K in numbers. For us, we're really trying to target the more global crowd. Of shipping to over 100 countries. Is just the way we're set up. We have the dApp store component, but we need the Android. But to answer the question, TLDR is yes, we have. We recently TGE'd, on Bitfinex as well. Appreciate the support and airdrop to our users. But let's talk about what an airdrop is, right? I feel like it's such a widely used term today. I feel like airdrop is just a way to retroactively reward your core community. Like that's what it should be used for. But then obviously in crypto, there's a lot of other actors are coming in airdrop farming and doing other actions just to earn those tokens. But end of the day, it's on-chain transactions and rewarding our users for using the phone. So for example, right now you can go onto our by the phone, go into the Jambo app, which is only one of the 20 apps that are pre-installed. It's your wallet and your questing platform. Over there, you can do various sort of tasks, earn those tokens, and even earn Jambo points that will then translate to the J token that's liquid traded on, Bitfinex, Bybit, OKX, etc.
Okay, cool. And then like I remember like a year or two ago, maybe a little bit longer, Axie Infinity was like super popular in emerging economies, places like the Philippines, Venezuela, and people were like making more than the minimum wage in their country playing these games and earning on the game. Like, are you seeing that kind of dynamic work with Jumbo's apps?
To be fair, first of all, it was a great question. Axie Infinity and YGG, right? Axie Infinity being the big Web3 game, YGG being the guild that sort of supported the infrastructure and set up the Filipino dollar pair for them. I don't see that dynamic as much in today's sort of world. What I mean by that is back then, Web3 gaming, and that was a very new and innovative model where you
Yeah, there
don't
was a
see
lot of hype around it.
a lot of hype, right? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think every company needs to distinguish who are your users, your core community that's using the app, and then who are the ones buying and trading your tokens. Because I promise you, the core community of Axie, you'll know them well. YGG, Gabby, amazing mentor, are in Philippines, are in Southeast Asia, where the monthly salary, it makes sense to spend your time to earn X amount of dollars from Axie from grinding YGG. But the users that are actually trading those tokens are probably in China, in the US, in Turkey, big trading regions. And I think that's why this disconnect happens sometimes. So a big part for us is we also have Web3 games such as those, but we never want it to be, hey, play to earn, because we know that anything incentive based that users don't actually like will doesn't really, end well. So the games that we have pre-installed today, we try to make it that are more fun. Yes, you can earn tokens from it, but it's sort of more of a gateway into a ecosystem where you'll find other games, other communities. We go to local internet cafes in certain regions and have outreach where, we pay the local internet cafe owner for different users that they signed up, because sort of in these emerging markets, that is where young people spend their time after school, after work, etc.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And then like, where would you say you have the most users? Like which country is adopting Jambo the most?
For sure. Out of our top 10 countries, I'd say most likely LATAM and Brazil is our number one. I think a
Okay.
big reason for that, even though I'm from Africa,
Hmm.
but we don't have as big coverage, not as a coverage adoption as LATAM, is because LATAM sort of like a few decades ahead in terms of the payment. Like they are already used to QR codes, payment
Hmm.
basics. They're already used to sort of seeing hyperinflation and what's happened to certain countries, obviously in Zimbabwe as well, but there's no gold or Bitcoin reserves like in El Salvador as there is in Africa. So I think a big part is for the younger generation to decide. And what we found is in LATAM, that is where they're really more experimental, more outgoing, willing to take a lot of these risks, but also understand some of the infras to do so.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being true. And then also, I think the infrastructure has a lot to do with it too. Cause like in Africa, the lights go out, sometimes in some countries for like several hours a day. And, like the infrastructure is not as reliable as it is in Latin
Right.
America.
I think yeah, like infra and users,
Mm.
actual usage have to go hand in hand, because no one's going to build the infra if the users aren't sort of driving up volumes and vice versa. So even like in today's world, what we see different apps being built, other founders speaking, it really is shifting more towards like the infra and the founders that are building the products. So I guess in the crypto terms would be the L1, and the
Mhm.
founders that are building the dApps on top of it are really working more together. And that's a big reason, like Solana, for us, it was such a big decision to launch on Sol and use Solana SPL payment rails. Like when we cash our users, there's a partnership with Tether and Solana to provide the lowest possible fees to our users for anything in these emerging markets, because that really matters a lot.
Cool. And then are you guys integrated with any other chains aside from Solana? Like, do you guys have bridges to like other Web3 platforms?
Yep. Yep. So we like to think of ourselves as an ecosystem where obviously Solana is where our token is and all of our payment rails are set up on it. But we also have partnership previously with, say, like Injective, Aptos, where we pre-installed Ninja Wallet, Petro Wallet for them, set up quests in our dApps for users to go and sort of try it out. Now, whether users want to spend time and locate tokens and deposit APT, that's up to them. But we sort of set up the user flow for users to try and do so, and then also to cash out using different payment rails.
How popular are stablecoins, I guess, for your users in emerging markets? I know like here where I live in Latin America, like everybody uses Tether.
Everyone. I'm not even gonna lie. Tether is probably the most widely used, just from even. I'll give you an example. We have a few devs from Argentina. Even in the deep bear market in 2023, they would still rather accept stable coins like Tether, USDT, other than like local cash. And then they have different ways of having a dude pop up instantly and change that money for them, right? I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, stable coins are huge. I think the biggest part for stable coins, honestly though, is for users to be able to actually, number one, not get hyperinflation. I think out of the over 90% of emerging market countries, I believe there's a stat that there's over 10% or 15% inflation yearly, which is pretty scary. So for a lot of our users, they are very young, so they're more experimental, so they are willing to try stable coins and other technologies versus just their usual bank or other methods.
Yeah. I would say like specifically in Argentina, like there's a huge adoption of stablecoins because the Argentinian peso, like before the new president came into office, was like just nosediving, right? So like
Mhm.
you don't want to hold pesos very long. Like, so when people get paid, like what they'll do is like go buy Tether like immediately, just so they're not holding pesos because like the peso is like losing, I don't know, like 30% a month or something ridiculous.
Yep. Yep. And honestly, that Melee, right? Super charismatic, dope dude. But yeah, let's see how it pans out with what the actual things happen.
Yeah, I haven't been there like since he's taken over, so I don't know like how much the situation has improved. But I have friends in Argentina that have spoken well of his administration. They like what he's doing, so
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
positive
I
thing, I
mean, I
guess.
think if he can even just get the stable coin part, up and running and solved, that'd be huge. Like, let's not even go into having tokenized like money markets that give you 4 to 5% yield on your stable coins, right? Like, instead of just hedging against hyperinflation, you can actually make money and have more yield than probably most investment products that you're able to access. So I think that's pretty big. If you look at how even PayFi can tie into stable coins, you know, using crypto credit cards and payment methods directly, using stable coins versus even touching any traditional rails. There's amazing companies that are setting that up today, like Reap, like Cast, Infini, etc. It's I think the world is a lot easier to access. Even for me, I pretty much only use crypto stablecoin credit cards rather than traditional ones.
Yeah, I do the same. So with the Jambo ecosystem, like, I know people are using it like as payment rails and stuff. Like, what kind of stuff can people pay? Like, can they go into like a normal store and like pay with
Sorry. Yeah, so when I say payment rails, I mean like on off ramps. So you can't
on and
use,
off ramps? Okay.
right. So you can't go to Jambo, like you go to a little mom and pop store in these markets and use Jambo tokens, but say you have 5 tokens, Matrix Fire, J token, etc. They're all liquid trading exchanges. We then provide you the on and off rails to your local currency for you to then spend.
Okay. And how are you guys overcoming the issue where like people are like debanked, like they don't have access to like financial services?
Right. We actually work with a lot of third-party providers, but yes, it really is dependent on the country. And in some areas, it really is tough. Like, we ship to 128 countries. We definitely don't provide on-off ramps in all 128, right? In Africa, we work with some providers like Yellow Card, like OVEX, guys that create their own liquidity books for the local currencies and then provide you stable coins. You know, it's a lot easier in LATAM, but yeah, many countries it is very tough.
Yeah, I mean, like just here in Colombia, like a lot of people are outside, like in the informal economy, you know, they sell stuff and, you know, earn nothing but cash, and they don't really have bank accounts. Like, they will have like an app on their phone, you know, like Neki or like Davi Plata or something like that, where you can like scan QR codes, but they have to like load it, right? It's like a debit card or something where they have to load it. And there's like payment, you know, like places everywhere where you can go and say, hey, like put like 100,000 pesos on my phone app so I can go to the store and use it.
I mean, I think that's honestly opening a whole new opportunity set as well. Because right now there are some digital investment opportunities from apps, right? Like, even I'm ethnically Chinese. There's WeChat, right? There's Tencent, Alibaba. When I open that, there are savings products or investment products you can click, like, hey, let me invest in this. But some of those investments, the underlying investments, are ridiculous. It's like building a soccer stadium in a 3rd-tier city in that country, you know, something crazy. Versus now, if you have a tokenized asset in any wallet, you could, other than like BTC Sol type stuff, like you take your stables and put into a tokenized money market fund or tokenized stock, you're essentially increasing your addressable market of users to the whole 5.5 billion internet users, you know, that can share liquidity and share that infrastructure. So I think there's so many other things to play with once you have onboarded these net users into crypto and given them the infra and understanding of how to use it.
How are you making it intuitive for people that may not be the most technical people, you know, to jump into this new world of like tokens and stable coins and dApps and things of that nature?
We really try to make it incentive based in the beginning, where it's spreads word of mouth. Like, hey, it's the phone that pays. We work with influencers, KOLs that then reach your friend. They'll tell another friend, hey, usually the phone we get is $150, right? For these specs. This one is $99. And it's a Web3 phone in the sense that where we spend time, we can earn tokens and earn money. So a lot of that is incentive based. And then when they come inside of it, there's quests and there's other things that they can do. And obviously, like, even for us, bigger groups on WhatsApp than Telegram, because a lot of the regions that we're in, WhatsApp is the main sort of de facto go-to. So you really have to localize with like the languages, the users, make them feel comfortable. Sort of like what YGG as a guild did for Axie the game locally. It's to spread the word. So you have to sort of do that yourself. And a lot of crypto is partnerships, right? All software companies, partnerships, online, Twitter announcements. But who am I going to partner with in Colombia? Who am I going to partner with in Kenya that has already been there, done that have done these things that I can just tap into? Not a lot of guys. So it's either legacy operating systems, which take a long time to reach. Like even, I'll give you an example, like telcos. Right now, Jambo is censorship resistant at the hardware level, but not at the connectivity level. When users want to access the internet, they still obviously have to put a SIM, work with a telco. So we can get into that later, but we're launching an orbit of satellites this year to connect all of our devices so they seamlessly have internet and they're not censored at that level. But even something so nuanced as that, if we want to work with a telco to provide coverage, you know, on top of like say Orange or a Safaricom in Africa, it takes probably more than a year of discussions, even if you're able to reach the CEO directly. So I think it's just a lot of difficulties when you're operating in these emerging markets that you have to sort of shift through.
That's wild that you guys are going to launch your own satellite network.
No, I appreciate it. It was actually part of our TGE. We raised some capital to do so, but we've been chatting with Starlink and with a few other providers for a while, and it's not as crazy as it sounds. There's sort of already the infra and people that have done it, so we're sort of tapping into that.
Nice. And then so like once you guys do that, like people will be able to like make what's up calls like over the internet rather than like a phone call, and
Yep.
they'll be able to do it like from pretty much anywhere.
Basically, say Jambo, like Jambo Phone 1 and Jambo Phone 2, right? That's last year that did a bit over 800,000 units. Like we have other products coming out as well, but imagine that you from buying the phone just can directly access the web, the internet, and use at any time that is just the most basic level to make calls, to make texts. Now imagine going into DPIN, having your phone as a compute node, part of a much broader network. You're providing your compute power and resources for other projects, and you're being rewarded for that constantly, even when you're asleep, without having to actually spend time.
Wow. That's super cool, man. You guys are doing some very exciting things over there at Jambo.
No, I appreciate it. Appreciate you.
What are you most excited about, like within the Jambo ecosystem?
A lot of the past few months for us was nailing our token down and our TGE correctly, because we really wanted to distribute it to our users that are actually using the phone in our community, and not just sort of big funds buying with big unlocks, etc. So that was a huge focus. Now, the reason why I'm excited for the J token out is because previously all the incentives and all the roads for our users to earn something in our phone is through our partners, right? Solana will provide rewards, Matrix Fire, the Fire token will provide rewards. But now the J token can directly be rewarded to you for doing certain things. So it sort of completes a flywheel. And that's why we're experimenting with many sort of different, even liquidity vaults, things like that, where users can stake, users can trade, users can do X amount of things with a J token and get a lot of benefits.
I guess I have another question. I know like mobile devices are kind of notorious for not being the most secure devices, and you guys have a phone where people are, you know, moving tokens around and stuff like that. How are you addressing like security?
That's a great question. So you might see, so even the price point that we chose, right, $99, you're not able to add, say if me planning with the phone at the factory, like, hey guys, what does adding in all 10 security features, say with a seed vault with XYZ look like? It might be $185. What does adding no security hardware components look like? Might be $60, right? So we chose an avenue that is, I guess, sort of a medium between full on security for users, like a security company such as Ledgers, like Trezor, you know, provide hardware safe wallets.
Where they have like this secure enclave chip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Secure enclaves, wallets, and then just a regular phone. And the reason a lot for that is because when we're having our value proposition to a user, right? It's the phone that pays us, you earn tokens, you're part of a bigger ecosystem, you're connected. It's not to a 18-year-old kid in Lagos, Nigeria, like, hey, this is the most secure phone you're ever gonna get to secure everything you have, right? Like that isn't as interesting for sort of the user base that we're trying to onboard. But we obviously need to make sure, with that being said, like the security and everything is fine-tuned. So that's just a bit of how we look at it, where the value prop has to be there. And if your entire thesis and your entire marketing is around security, it's very hard to onboard users in the regions that we're in.
Yeah, I would say like security also is like the more secure something is, the less convenient it is to use, which is why like things like Signal or SimpleX, which are like really secure and private chatting apps, are not getting the same kind of usage that something like Telegram or WhatsApp does.
Right. I mean, I think there's just a middle ground you can have, right? You can go, like, I have hot wallets, like I use Coinbase wallet, I use MetaMask, but Phantom, but then I also have my ledgers that I store some stuff in, and it's just a fine tune of how you want to, deal with it. And obviously for our users, I assume they're not going to have all these devices, so we're trying to provide something that's sort of in the middle ground between accessibility, ease of use, and security.
Like, how would you describe the role of the J token, like within the ecosystem?
Yep. Anything that has to do with on-off ramps, exchange, staking, rewards in the future, accessing the connectivity, you will need at least one J token to do so. So please buy one, hold one J token. So a lot of our tokenomics, Paradigm led our Series A, their Giga Brains over there took a lot of different revisions, etc., on the tokenomics. But at the end of the day, it's all for the benefit of our user, for our token price to have a reflection on how our users can interact with the Jambo ecosystem.
Okay. And then you mentioned staking. Like, what part of like the like role of the token, I guess, is for staking? Like, are people like running validator nodes and stuff like that, or?
Great question. So yeah, the traditional way of staking, even for us, we were running validator nodes for a few of the L1s that we are partnered with, right? And then providing those rewards that we get to our users for doing quests. But in the role of and the most traditional staking is locking up your tokens in a vault, having a sort of lockup period, and then you earn X amount of yield or X amount of bonus for a thing. For us, it's a bit more innovative in the sense that we want to tie in our staking, a lot of it, to a lot of the payment rails and things that we do. What I mean by that is, imagine, say you have $100 of Jambo tokens sitting in your wallet. You stake that, and from that stake, we can then provide that liquidity to various payment providers for cross-border payments. Say someone needs to send stables to someone, but for them to receive local Congolese dollar in Africa, then we are able to provide those stables from what you have staked, to then providing a very high yield on that for Yellow Card, then to take that counterparty risk and provide the local currency. So it's essentially your staking in one form will be providing transactions for cross-border payments and liquidity for that. So that's one part. That's a bit more complicated, and the easier vaults that we'll have is just staking to earn yield.
Okay, cool. And then, like, on the Jambo phone, like, is there like a Jambo like node, or is it just like a wallet app that's on?
Yeah. So Jambo app is only one of the 20 applications. It's your multi-chain wallet and your questing platform, tells you what to do. Everything else, it's also your dApp store. So we have a few dApps installed already, like, for example, our partnership with the L1 Peak, the DePIN chain. And there's a few DePIN products like Silencio, map the noise data around you, and you can earn Silencio tokens, etc. So all these like various like fun things that we try to add value for you to be doing with the phone to earn tokens is sort of what we're trying to do here.
Like, how important do you see like AI and like crypto like moving forward? Do you feel that they're going to like merge together more and more?
No, great question. I think a few months ago, I definitely thought it was going to merge everything and be the future as I was trading AI agents. But I'm kidding. I think I use AI more myself every day now. We're looking into it. But at the end of the day, the only AI component, just full disclosure, that we have is Jambo GPT, which we're providing real-time data and access through crypto to users, to ChatGPT and various AI products. Because in a lot of these markets, users don't have access, and the data for crypto is usually trailing 30 days. It's not up to date. Before us, it is. So just using crypto to access data in a more smart way. Whether AI agents and other things get, like, I've even heard ideas where mobile phones in the future, right, it won't have apps that are pre-installed. It's going to be AI agents that you're going to be talking to at different personalities, and those AI agents are the operating system, and they will help you in achieving various tasks, etc. Now, from Jambo Phone 2 to that, we'll see how long it takes, but I'm bullish.
Nice. So this is the second iteration of the phone then?
Yep, exactly. So the first iteration was also $99, came out early 2024, like in January. That's when we started shipping. Jambo Phone 2 came out in September, so 9 months later, still $99, but basically triple the specs.
Since we're almost at a half hour here, we're going to wind down the interview, but I do have one last question. Like, for somebody that's interested in building on Jambo, like, how would you recommend them to get started?
Please reach out to our team. You can DM us on Twitter, at Jambo Technology. You can hit us up from the website. Please go www.jambo.technology. But what does building on Jambo even mean? Because we're not an L1, is we can essentially, if you believe in mobile and mobile architecture, and that is a lot of the future of how users will consume data and spend their time, then please reach out, because that's basically all we think about. We go to sleep and wake up thinking about distribution. So that is why, we're in so many countries and we try to get a distribution out there. But without product, there is nothing to distribute. So a lot of what we do is all around the mobile sense. So if anyone's interested in mobile, please reach out.
Okay, cool. Well, James, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us a good overview of what you guys are doing at Jambo. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thanks.
Appreciate you, Ricardo. Thank you.